Hey, welcome back to the show. Today we have a juicy topic for you. We're going to be talking about self-trust. And this is a very timely message, I think, for where we're at in the world with everything that's going on in the online space and just the whole paradigm shift that's coming in
Mhm.
2027. And people are realizing that, we are having to trust ourselves more. There's a lot less following the status quo and doing what's been done for years and years and years because things are just not working. So self-trust is going to be really big. But also, we've been talking about this today too, around self-trust in your life and how that affects your life, how that shows up. Why does it even matter? And yeah, so we're just really excited to talk about this topic today.
Yeah, I really think that this is such a big one because this is at the foundation of coming back to our own authenticity, which is kind of at the core of why we started this podcast, is to bring people back home to themselves ultimately and like harness their own authenticity, especially in this age where, AI is becoming a bigger thing, etc. I think at the core of life, it's all about deconditioning and coming closer and closer back to your home to yourself. So to your true self. And that true self is also, I think, the highest version of you.
Yes. And being in your authenticity and trusting yourself is the way to have the life that you dream of. It is not
Hmm.
by copying anyone else. It is not by listening to someone else's advice or what they think you should do. And that's where people are going wrong and have been going wrong for probably most of their life.
Yeah.
And that's clearly not working. So when you trust yourself and you're able to tune into your own intuition, follow your own guidance, that's when you create the life, the relationship, the health, the everything that you want. And
And I
oh, sorry, I think you froze for a second. Yeah, your internet is a little,
unstable.
yeah. Give us just a second. Oh, there now it's yellow. It was red, then it was yellow, like the little bars. I don't know if that's your internet
Technology.
or what that is, but
I don't know. I That might be an internet thing. Yeah, for
okay.
sure.
Oh,
But I
we'll
just
keep going.
disconnected. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So back to that. So why does self-trust matter? So if you don't trust yourself, you are making decisions from a place of listening to all of the external noise. You end up making decisions from a place of what someone else thinks you should do, or from a place of fear of, someone else doesn't want you to do that, or what are people going to think? And you end up living someone else's life essentially. And that's a very kind of miserable place to be. And that might sound extreme, but it is miserable if you are living a life that is not designed by you. It's just designed by someone else.
Hmm.
It's not your real self, and you're going to be miserable. Your body's probably going to respond to that. You're never going to feel truly fulfilled by your life. So
Yeah, and that goes to show on both the macro and micro level. So even when, we'll get into this further as we go along, but that's from like a day-to-day moment-to-moment basis as well, that like those things add up, which it might be that you are in a job that you love, for example, or you are in a loving relationship, but if on the micro level you're making decisions that are for other people, or putting others' best interests before yourself and like really trusting what you know is right for you, then yeah, those things add up, and that can still cause a lot of internal chaos. May sound a little extreme, but internal
yeah,
conflict, I
this is
guess, and
conflict.
chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
This is a big
So,
in the area of health too. Like, me working with health coaching clients is that I see when people are making those small like you said, the small day to day, we don't think it's a big deal. Like, oh, I'll just go to this because I can do it. Even though, in your whole body, you're like, I have no energy for this thing, but you go anyways, because for whatever reason, to make someone happy, or you push yourself when you really, want to rest, and you push yourself beyond. So you're not listening to your body, you're not trusting what your body's telling you to do, and or telling you what it needs. And so this results in, um, health challenges, because eventually your body is like, no. If you don't say no, your body will eventually say no for you. And that's a very
Yeah.
pleasant way to experience this. So when we don't trust ourselves, it can lead to, health challenges. It can lead to very unpleasant or even dangerous situations that might sound extreme, but it can. It I'm just
Yeah,
I
go
don't
ahead.
know if you're about to say something, but, like, relationships, toxic
Hmm.
work environments, and it doesn't even have to be, like, toxic, like, in that extreme, but just unhealthy, or just a relationship that's not right for you, or a work environment that's not right for you, and then you end up wasting years of your life because you didn't trust yourself, and nobody wants to waste years of their life in the wrong setting, right? Or in the wrong relationship, or the wrong job. So,
Yeah, I just wanted to stress what you said about
mhm.
if you don't say no, your body will say no for you.
Yes.
I think that's massive. That's what creates like autoimmune issues.
Yeah, which I have an autoimmune, psoriasis, which is a
Mm-hmm.
condition, the skin attacking itself. And that's a big one. There's a book, I don't know if you've seen it, by I think it's Gabor Mate. I don't really know how to
Yes, Gabor
say.
Mate.
Yeah,
Yes.
but it's like when the body says no. And that's
Mm-hmm.
literally every chapter is kind of a different example. And he's talking about, it's not even extreme stuff. It's stuff that people, no one would really notice this about that person, but they went years of saying yes, of doing
Mm-hmm.
everything, being on 24/7, taking care of everything in their family, and the whole weight of everything is on them. And even in job situations, there was a man, and he interviewed him, and I can't remember what condition he ended up having, but he asked him about his work life. He's like, "Oh yeah, I just say yes to everything. I do everything that they ask me to because I like to help. I like to be of service, whatever." But he like could not say no to something at work. So he just kind of worked himself into the ground, and eventually his body said no for him with this chronic condition that he had. I don't know if it was MS or something like that. So we think it's subtle, we think it's not a big deal, we can push ourselves, I can handle it, but your body is like, no. It knows the truth, and so eventually it will say no for you. So yeah, that's a huge one.
Yeah, and I think that this is all bring about a good point where it's not about the external. This is like an inside
Mm,
operation that's happening. So
mhm,
on the outside, it can look like things are fine. And it could look like nothing is really happening, everything's all good. You're being a good person, blah, blah, blah. But the inside effect and is what to pay attention to. And also, yeah, this is all for yourself because yeah, you're the one that will be hurting in the long run.
yeah. And no one else can really tell you what you're
Exactly.
feeling internally, or what your intuition is trying to tell you, and what those signals are, because that, like you said, that's a internal personal process that's going on.
Hmm.
So yeah, so let's talk about, where does this stem from? Like, if you're someone who struggles with trusting yourself, if it's in small ways or big ways, it doesn't really matter in any way. Where does this stem from? And I can just speak for myself, and then if you have stuff to share, Kat. But I know for me, like, how you were raised, your childhood, the type of parenting you received, that's the first place. And nothing against our parents. It's just, if we're a different personality than our parents, that can be a huge deal. And like for me, I was very much easy, go with the flow, like whatever my mom wanted me to do, okay, sure, I'll do it. But that also meant that I didn't really stand up if I didn't want to do something. Like, I kind of let her make the decisions. So then when I got older, and I had the opportunity to make my own decisions, I hadn't had that opportunity to trust myself. I hadn't had the practice of making decisions on my own. And what do I want to do? I don't know, because I had been told, oh, this is what you're going to do. Cool. All right, go along with it. And for the most part I did. So then you get older and you're like, oh, I gotta like make the decision for myself. And yeah, so I think childhood and just our conditioning in general, from parents, from teachers, from society as a whole, telling us that the answer is outside of us. Like, we need
Hmm.
someone else knows better than us. We need to ask someone else their opinion, or we need something outside of us to know the answer. That's a big one here lately in
Right.
the world, that you need something else to tell you how to do it.
Hmm.
So that's a little bit of my experience with it. So I'm curious for you, like, if anything stands out that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, mm, yeah, I would say growing up, it was definitely I had to be very hyper vigilant and very I had to really cater towards others' emotions and how other people were being. So I couldn't actually really focus on myself at all for a
Mhm.
long time. And it wasn't until after college for me where I think being away for college was really beneficial for me in a lot of ways. And one of those ways being that I grew some stronger independence. And it also kind of made me a bit rebellious in the sense of I once I knew that there was something that I wanted to do that was right for me, I would just do it. So it also kind of created like this fearlessness in me, I guess is
Yeah,
maybe a better way to put it.
yeah.
And I definitely did it on the micro level first.
Like not
But
trusting yourself, or you mean
of learning
trusting
to trust
yourself.
myself.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've learned, but I think for me in just my journey, I reached such a point of I'm done that it caused me, for me, it kind of struck harder on a macro level first. And the first major decision that I made was to yeah, leave. I was born and raised in the Boston area, went to school in the Boston area. And then a year after college, I decided to move out west to San Diego. And that for me, when I made that decision and all of that worked out for me, that was a major example around, oh, I can trust myself to make decisions and it's going to work out and I can trust that it's the right thing for me. And then I just started accumulating evidence. And we spoke about this too in our last podcast that it's a lot about you got to accumulate the evidence and it's about connecting the dots of reflecting on what decision you made here that led to here, that led to here, that led to here. Because I even got so fearless with it that I lost friends when I decided that San Diego was no longer right for me and I decided to move somewhere else and completely pivot directions. I knew it was the right decision for me, and it was. And it ended up being exactly what I needed. But my friends at the time were not supportive of that, which,
Mhm.
then I don't know how
Yeah.
great of a friend that they were if that was the case. But but yeah, I mean,
But
but
that
I
could make
was
you question yourself and your decision when other people are not supportive.
yeah, it can, but yeah, it didn't. It
And it's good that
strengthened.
it didn't for
It
you. I
didn't
think
for
that's where
me.
other people can get
Yeah,
caught up,
a
is
hundred
if
percent.
the people around you are not supportive.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's the hardest thing. I think that's why we kind of stay in the lane that we think we should be in. It's all about pleasing the external
Yeah.
in whatever way that means. That could be family, that could be like literally people on the outside, or that just could be our own belief and assumption of what the external world is telling us we should do.
Yeah. Yeah. Very
But
true. If you're taking in all the outside noise, then you can't really hear yourself. So then it's really hard to know yourself and know even what you might want to do. So then you end up
Mm-hmm.
making a decision from that very um it's kind of a more of a blurry space to be in than a clear place of like, yes, I know this is my direction.
Yeah, I actually, I'm trying to think of when I learned this. It was fairly recent. It was maybe a few years ago. And it's a rule of thumb that I stick by. I don't always follow it. And then when I don't follow it, I'm like, oh, I missed that one. But that's okay. I'll try again next time. Um, but so this is like my biggest rule of thumb is when you're asking a million people around you for their opinion about something, and we've all done this. So I know everybody listening is like, oh yeah, I've done that. When you have a decision that you want to make or that you need to make, you ask for everyone, you're talking to all your friends about it, you're talking to whoever about it. So I've learned that when I'm doing that, it actually means that I know the answer within, but that I'm scared for what that answer is. So
Mhm.
I'm looking for somebody else to just tell me what it is that I already know, so then I feel safer in making that decision. Because it's like, oh, if they see it too, then I'm not wrong and I can go ahead and make this. Usually it's like a difficult decision to make.
Yeah, it's like giving you that validation, like
Yeah.
get the validation that other people agree. And so then you're like
Yeah.
more comfortable to make the decision. It feels less scary. But
Mm-hmm.
when you get differing opinions and you already knew the answer, then that becomes
Oof.
a major problem and you're utterly confused.
Oh, well, that's the point. Like, that is the point of why that never works, is because
Yeah.
most of the time, if not all the time, really, it just makes me more confused. I'm like, wait, shoot, I don't know what to do. Because it's not, you're not meant to get the answer from that source. You're meant to get the answer from within. So,
Yes.
that is, yeah. So that's why that doesn't work, because it's you're gonna take the opinion of somebody else who's living their own reality, their own situation. They have their own biases, they have their own experiences. It's not truly coming from you. So if you do hear one clear answer that feels right, or that doesn't feel right, but is the one that you choose to go with, yeah, it may not be correct.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's a really like it's a hard habit to break, especially if you're really close to, people in your life, whether it's a parent or a romantic relationship or a friend, and you do value their opinion. It's just if you struggle in this area, that can just make it even harder. So what I've started doing is you know, getting clear with myself, like whether it's journaling or whatnot, giving myself space to come to my own sort of decision. And then maybe there's one person that I do really trust that I want to share it with them, and I'm not really seeking their advice per se. And you might even say that, like, I just want to talk this out with you. I don't necessarily need you to give me your personal opinion on it, but just to let you hear yourself talk about it. And you might come to your own final decision in that way. Um, but yes, it's like I've had to really not let myself go and talk about the decision before I know what I first intuitively feel about it.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
sometimes
thank
not
you.
at all, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for clarifying that, because that's true. It's not to say that like you can't go to somebody that you trust and look for their opinion, or at least just feel heard. But first take the space to listen to yourself. It's when you like jump to listen to somebody else right away before you even take time to consider it
Mhm.
for yourself.
Mhm. Yeah,
But
totally.
this is definitely, I mean, a lot of the topics that we're discussing, it's a rewiring process. So it is very much like working a muscle that you haven't worked in a long
Yeah.
time. So it takes a second, And like I
Yeah.
said, I still do this occasionally. It just happens way less, or I'll catch it faster. But yeah, I mean, I sometimes still will find myself, if I, especially like the harder the decision, um, I'm like seeking the validation of others immediately before sitting with it.
Yeah. And it's too, it's that we're seeking that because we're avoiding the uncomfortableness of like
The
owning it,
answer.
right? And
Yeah.
yeah, finding the answer and like like, no one else can actually give you that, but we want to hurry and rush through it and not feel that uncomfortableness. We want the clarity now. We want everything in the now. And so that's, I think, part of also driving us to go seek the validation or talk about it or get the advice or whatever it is. Um, but yeah, so that's one thing that you can look out for to notice like you're not trusting your own intuition. You're going outside versus going within. And there's a few other things that we wanted to bring up on what this could look like in real life so you can understand like am I doing this? How well do I actually trust myself? And one that I just wanted to share, which is perfect timing. We're talking about this because Kat and I both came across this article today, and it was called "Just Pick a Lane." Just pick a lane, babe, is what it said. And I was like, oh my God, this is so freaking me. And that was me definitely earlier on in my life in my 20s. My mom would be like, are you just gonna make a decision? Like she's like, just pick something. Like, and so this indecisiveness is really a big indicator. If you're being indecisive, if you're avoiding making the decision, if you're not making a decision at all, that's still a decision, by the way. If
Hmm.
you're stalling, if you're seeking the answers in maybe it's books or articles or podcasts or whatever, that's another sign. This is just this indecisive loop of like hoping the answer is going to come to you when reality you're kind of just avoiding the truth or you're not very comfortable in trusting the truth. So
Hmm.
um that's one way that it really showed up for me most of my life. And this is
Yeah.
in the really small things. It can be in the really small things too. It doesn't have to be big decisions.
Yeah, I that completely resonates with me as well. The indecisiveness is definitely a indicator of you're
Mhm.
not trusting yourself to just make a decision. And again, that kind of comes from trial and error as well. Like test it out, do it with the smallest of things. Like what do you want to drink right now? Or what like what do you
Right.
want coffee? Do you
Yeah.
not like just
Think what you're
make a
gonna have for
decision.
dinner. Yeah.
Make a decision and then reflect on how that decision made you feel. Was it correct or was it not? And kind of like investigate from there. But trusting yourself and then oh, I just thought of something else. I'm gonna swing into this.
Okay.
Is yeah, is a huge part of self-trust is making a decision for yourself and then following through with it. But it's not about just making yourself do things that you don't want to do. It's choosing to like let's say you already made a commitment to show up um somewhere and show up for somebody, but then it
Mhm.
gets to that point you're like, oh, I like kind of this doesn't actually work for me today, but I've made the commitment and this person could needs me, so it's like, okay, I'm gonna show up, but then I'm just gonna stay for an hour and then I'm gonna leave.
Mhm.
Honoring yourself and building that self-trust muscle would look like then truly just staying for an hour and then leaving. Once that hour, it's creating boundaries is really a lot. And now boundaries can be fluid. So of course it could look different. You could set the boundary of I'm going to leave after an hour, but if an hour doesn't feel right and you want to stay for like a little bit longer, then go for it. But you're still honoring yourself by maybe not staying the whole time or like leaving when it feels right to you to leave. So boundaries are certainly fluid, but when you start setting boundaries for yourself and then following through on that said thing, that is how you start to like really strengthen that muscle.
Yeah, totally. And I just want to speak to the fact of like the reason we are indecisive or we're not, holding that boundary, we're not staying true to ourselves is generally it's driven by some kind of fear, people pleasing, worried what someone else is going to think. And so I just want to say these two things are really connected: self trust and people pleasing, and worrying what other people think or how they're going to feel about it. And so that might be the actual real thing that you need to look at to help build the self trust is like, where am I people pleasing? Where am I saying yes just because, like, and I'm totally ignoring what's actually coming up for me? Um,
Hmm.
because that's the small ways, usually the small thing at work that you committed to, that you're like, I actually don't have zero time for this, but I signed up for it because I probably should, whatever that means. I should do it. This is going to look good or whatever reason. Or in a relationship, your partner wants to go do this thing and you actually have zero desire to do it. Like, it sounds like the worst thing you want to do on a Saturday, and you go and do it with them anyways. Yes,
Hmm.
there's compromise here and there in relationships, but if it like feels that awful to you, like that draining, it's just a no. It's just a no. I don't want to do that. And so I think for a lot of us, this self-trust shows up even more in the small ways than it does in the big ways. And so looking at, okay, when am I doing that and why am I doing that?
Hmm. And
Well,
really, yeah, definitely. And it's really paying attention to your language. What language are you using when like you use the word
right.
should, need to, have to?
Mhm.
Those are all, I still do this on a daily basis. I pay attention to my language and I will catch myself. This just happened the other day, but I don't remember what it was surrounding. But I caught myself feeling like, oh, I should do, and then I caught it and I was like, okay, no, I'm not gonna do that thing, you know? And I just had to
Yeah.
like pause and take it in
Yeah.
for a second. But yeah, those words alone, just paying attention to that, um,
Well, and it's
and
like,
being reflective.
yeah, and it's like, why are you saying I should? Is it should because you think someone else thinks you should do that? Or is it because you want to do it, or that's going to lead to something for you that you want, but you're kind of using the wrong language there. If you want to do it for some reason, then I want to work on this today. Not I
Mm-hmm.
should work on this, I need to work on this, I have to, because then that makes that activity feel like a drain. When
Yeah,
really it's something that you did want to do, let's just say for your business or whatever it is. And so that energy, the language you use is also going to bring that, depends on the energy that you're bringing to that task or event or whatever it is you're doing.
yeah. That's a great point, is you can still do said thing, but maybe change your language around it.
Yes. And really questioning yourself, like, is this a should from some external thing that I'm thinking I should do it? And do I
Right.
actually have to do it? Just because someone said doesn't necessarily mean that that's truth. So just questioning those beliefs that we have
And
sometimes.
again, it's all about, it should not be an external process. It is not an external process. So those shoulds, need to, have to, it's like, where are those coming from? You know, where are those coming from? Because they definitely came from an external source, unless you're putting that pressure on yourself, which is still something to reflect on.
Yes, yes, which can be possible depending on the environment you're in or the environment you grew up in. And so I want to bring this back to, what is this lack of self-trust, how can this show up in relationships? And in the small ways, we kind of talked about that, like, oh, they want to eat here and I really don't want to eat that, but I went and did that anyways. Okay, well, maybe you could decide to just eat at home and eat something different or go get something different. And I actually had a friend tell me an example that I'm going to share in a second, but also the small ways and then the big ways in relationships. So going back first to the small thing, I had a friend tell me that she was on vacation with her husband and her son, and they wanted to go to this restaurant, but she knew that restaurant was very kind of loud and just lots of stuff going on. And she's like, I just don't want to eat in that environment. Because we were kind of talking about digestion and human design. So that brought this. She's like, I really just want to like order like takeout and eat in the hotel. And so she did. And of course, her husband was like, "Well, we really want you to come." And she's like, I know, but I'm totally good. Like this is what I want to do tonight." And she did, and she was like, "It was pure bliss. Like I literally just sat and ate in my hotel." She's like, "But that's what I wanted to do, and that's the environment that felt good to me." And so that's one way right there of like just honoring your own preference and
Mm-hmm.
helping others in your life see that this doesn't mean you're mad or anything is wrong. This is just my preference, and sometimes we want to go with that. Sometimes you might just end up going to the loud restaurant, whatever, but she chose to honor how she felt in that moment because it was a really strong feeling. So that's one way. And I think that we can tend to let all these little things slide and like, oh, I'll go and do this. But then next thing you know, you've done that all week and you have drained so much of your energy, and then you have no energy to do what you want to do or
Mm-hmm.
what show up in your career or for your other relationships or whatnot. So that's one.
Your
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, your relationship with yourself is the most important relationship. You know,
Yes.
like you are the one who's with you 24/7 every single day from the day you were born until the day you die. So why would you not be your own best friend in that sense? Like, and honor yourself in that way. Like, and just be truthful and then just follow through with whatever that truth is for you.
Yeah, because if you're not listening to you, guess what?
Nobody else is
No
either.
one else is because
Yeah.
you're not showing anyone how to treat you or that your thoughts and opinions or your decisions matter because you're not treating it like that. So then you're kind of setting the example for everyone else.
And it's
So
respect, you know? At the end of the day, this
yes.
is like all around respecting yourself, which is also self-love, you know? It's
Yep.
all, this is like at the core of it. It's like, yes, bubble baths, massages, also really important, also a form of all this, but like self-trust is at the core and like the essence of all of this, and also eliminating people pleasing and living for the external.
Mhm. Yeah, I think self-trust is one of the biggest things that actually shows that you love yourself. Like it's a kind of a key indicator there. If you're honoring yourself and your decisions and you're trusting yourself and your truth, that is an example of that's like proof that you do love yourself.
Yeah.
Like one
You
way you express that.
you can't have one without the other.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Very true.
you know, you
Mhm.
can't say that you love yourself and not have self-trust. And you
Yep.
can't say that you have self-trust. By having self-trust, you in turn, of course, are showing yourself love.
Yes. Well, yes. Perfect. Yep. Exactly. And yeah, so to the bigger side of the coin of relationships, how this can look on a larger scale, not just the small daily things, is are you trusting yourself when there's a red flag that shows up when you're in the
Mm.
dating world? Are you trusting yourself when something feels off and you're like, oh, don't want to say so, I don't want to say anything, but I do want to say something. I'm gonna let it go for now. Hopefully they'll
Who
never leave.
can relate to this?
This is huge. It's like
Not
dating
listening.
world. And even in long relationships, I've been in long relationships where I like knew this was not going to the next level and it was hard as hell to end it. Like it
Yeah.
was like I needed something else, even though my body was literally telling me this is not right. I needed something external to tell me to end it. Like it was that hard for me. And again, this goes back to deeper things like fear, wounding, you know, could be childhood stuff, whatever it is, our attachments. But this is the ways that it shows up. And then you end up in this relationship for years that wasn't should have ended years ago. And you just,
Hmm.
I hate to say waste because nothing's a waste. You learn something from it, but it can feel like that when you're like, oh, I knew that 2 years ago and I didn't end it.
Yeah, I can
So
relate.
yeah, I'm sure you can relate. share your thoughts on this.
Yeah, well, an example I thought of, this is a bigger example, but nonetheless. Um, so I was in a relationship and I knew I had become a bit self-sacrificing in the relationship, which is a whole other conversation that we'll have to put a pin in that one, come back. But but the self-sacrificing is what, or self-abandoning is another, tomato, tomato. These are all kind of used interchangeably in a lot of ways. But these are things that chip away at your self-trust. I thought I had really solid self-trust until I entered a particular relationship that actually chipped away at my self-trust over time. But it was me chipping away at my self-trust. It wasn't the other person. It was my actions or my lack of actions that were chipping away at my self-trust. And then it wasn't until I finally knew that I needed to make a certain decision and I chose to make that decision knowing that it could potentially end the relationship. But while knowing that if it did, then that's okay because it's showing that it wasn't the right relationship to be in the first place. Because if it is right, then it will work out. If you're choosing yourself and you're not being self-abandoning and you're not being self-sacrificing, everything will work out as it's meant to if it's the right relationship for you. Well, even if it's not, it's working out for you, right? But the relationship will continue to work if even if you choose yourself. Um, and so yeah, I trusted myself to do what I knew was right for me. And yeah, it ended the relationship like after a certain amount of time. But it's okay. It was like it's all good. It was meant to happen, no biggie. Um, of
And if
course, it
you
was hard in
didn't
the
do
moment,
that,
but
it could have lasted way longer and then you wasted, you
yeah.
spent way more months in something that eventually and would have ended anyways. Um,
Yeah,
so
but that was not an easy decision, I had to like really choose this thing for myself because I realized I hadn't been doing that and I
mhm,
knew I should.
mhm,
So,
yeah,
but that brought back to life my self-trust
yeah,
and it was the best decision.
yeah. It's easier to practice it in the small decisions and the big decisions is when it's like it takes a lot of courage to do it, but the more
Yeah.
you do it, you build that muscle and it does get easier and then you eventually see it, you might see in a week, you might see in a month, you might see 2 years down the road how that decision really was the best decision. We don't always have like a very clear view of the future when we're doing it. That's why it can feel very hard and scary and yeah, it takes courage because your intuition is calling you to make a decision and it doesn't really tell you why always. You don't have
Mm-hmm.
clear like you need to end this because you're gonna in 6 months meet this other guy. Like we don't know any of that, right? And so you just have to trust. And then also you also don't know what other things are at play. Like you might just feel like something is off and you might feel like this is probably the right decision or your intuition's calling you to make this decision and you don't know why. And this is what showed up for me in one relationship was like I felt like it was not right that we were together, but there wasn't anything quote unquote wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So I stayed because I'm like, well, that's fine. Like, I don't, you didn't cheat on me or anything. So, but something fell off. And because I didn't have this clear, you know, thing in front of me saying, this is why you need to end it, I didn't end it for a very long time. And so that's another thing to know that when you are making these decisions that feel hard and scary and maybe you haven't been trusting yourself, it's not always doesn't always feel clear. It's just a feeling that you need to do it, but you don't always have a black and white answer in front of you saying why.
Yeah. I mean, listen, this is something you're going to hear Holly and I say over and over and over again and I think that's what makes it so hard is because it's hard for our brain to wrap around these things because it's all about what you intuitively know the answer to be, and that your intuition does not live in your brain. It lives in the body. That is why every time it will not feel like the logical, practical answer. A lot of the time, unless you're like probably pretty deep in there and then it just gets, it's like, okay, it's like now obvious I should make this decision, but typically it's really not something that's logical or practical. So letting go of that idea is really important, and that gives you the freedom to then take a leap when it does come time to trusting your intuition around these things.
Yeah, and because it's not a logical, rational thing in your mind, it is generally a decision that might be harder to explain to the outside world to
Hmm.
why you're doing it. And the truth is you don't need a why for why you're doing it. If someone needs that, no is a complete sentence, yes is a complete sentence. I'm making this decision is a complete sentence. You don't really need to give an explanation. And I think that's why it can be hard sometimes to trust yourself, because you might think, well, I need to tell people why I'm doing this, and I need to have all these reasons. It's like, no, actually you don't. You just
Yeah.
you just know that you need to do this for you, and that's it. So yeah, that's where the other people can get involved and make our decision a little hairy and hard to follow.
Yeah, and it's understandable. We do want uh w- as humans we're meant to operate in community and we need connection. So it is biologically ingrained that we want the approval of others and we want the validation of others. Um, However, you can get that in other ways, and you can get that from listening to yourself as well.
Mhm.
Because what is ultimately correct for you when you do listen to yourself and you do tap into your intuition and you follow through with what you tell yourself you're going to do, that that will all work out as well. So you're not going to lose the connection with others if you follow what you know to be true for you. And it will inspire others to do the same, because we should all be doing this. So because what's energetically correct for you is energetically correct for the other person as well. And that's a topic we will dig into deeper on in another
Yes.
episode. But that's like a huge concept that I know a lot of people have a hard time grasping that one, which is understandable.
Mhm.
Um,
Yep, totally. That's a good point. Yeah, we'll definitely dive deeper into that. So, should we wrap this up with like some reflection questions, or where do we want to go from here?
yeah, I think always really helpful to have some reflection questions after discussions like this, because I'm curious to know what has come up for you listening, what is showing up for you as you're hearing Holly and I share what we've shared and our own experiences. So, some questions to help you reflect a little bit. So, one is, if I trusted myself fully, what would I do differently in my relationships? It could be in the workplace, or yeah, just your day-to-day life. Um, and I really like this one. What small ways do I ignore my needs on a daily basis? So ignoring rest that you may need, pushing through. I'm laughing because we've all done this many
Yeah.
times. You just push through. And sometimes you have to. I'm not saying that. Sometimes you got to go to work when you don't feel like it, blah, blah, blah. But really look at it from the perspective of, did I skip a meal that I didn't, that I probably shouldn't have skipped? So ignoring
Yeah.
your own needs is a really good way to look at where you're because that chips away at your self-trust.
Yeah, totally. You're basically saying I'm not important.
Yeah.
So you ignore your needs, whether that's going to the bathroom, eating a meal, sleep, exercise, like all of it. If you're putting something else in front of those very like kind of basic needs, then you're essentially telling yourself you don't matter, which yes, chips away at your ability to trust that you know what's best for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so let us know what's coming up for you, especially when you hear those questions. Holly, did you want to add any questions?
Yeah, I think this is a good one. When was the last time I said yes to something when my whole body wanted to say no?
Yeah.
Because your body, if you ignore your intuition, like your body's going to tell you. You may be ignoring the signs of it, but start to pay attention to when you did something maybe that you didn't really want to do, or you said yes, or you went along with whatever, and this can be big or small. Did your body send you a signal?
Yeah,
Did
because
you?
again, oh, sorry.
No, 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 go ahead.
Because again, your intuition does not there it's not in your mind, it's not in your brain, it lives in the body. So the no will, if you don't say it, your body will say it for you. That is 1000%, 10 out of 10, always the case. So
And this is where, for myself, for those who don't know, I had chronic digestive issues for years. It
same.
turns out most almost all of that was stemming from me ignoring my gut, from me
Hmm.
not listening to myself, from me self-abandoning and going with the flow, being the easy girlfriend that just, okay, yeah, whatever, happy go lucky. But I was ignoring myself in the process. And so that was my body's way of saying, like, hey, this is not what you're supposed to be doing right now. It was trying to alert me. So yeah, I just thought that question was really good because your body is going to send you signals. If you pay attention to it, you will know that you are maybe venturing out of alignment with your truth. So yeah,
100%.
any other,
Um,
or did you wanna go to the
no, I mean, I do like this question. So if after taking some time to reflect on what we've been discussing, I would then consider asking yourself what's one boundary that you can set this week to show yourself that you are listening. So, yeah,
yeah,
maybe it is that you go out with your friends, but you choose to only stay an hour and then you follow through on that, or that you are going to go to the gym for 20 minutes on Wednesday and then you actually do it. What is like a boundary? It's like one boundary that you can set for yourself this week to follow
or
through.
you're listen to yourself on the weekends, like listen to what your body is telling you it needs. And if
Yeah.
it needs rest, rest. If it wants to go move, go move. Like even those small things.
Yeah. And hey, like as you get used to doing these practices, I am a massive fan of it's 111. It's funny. I am a huge fan of setting reminders on my phone. I use the calendar app and I set reminders and say like check in with body. And I do that 3 times a day. And then after a week of seeing those messages pop up on my phone, I delete them all, but I already have it in my brain. So
Yeah,
do
that's a
whatever
good.
you got to do to really implement and again embody these practices,
Yeah.
because it's an embodiment.
Yeah. It totally is. Yeah. And I like that with the reminders. You could also do this as like just a journaling exercise at the end of the day, like taking inventory of all the decisions you made. And, were you making those from your intuition and from your inner authority, as we call it in human design, and how did it turn out?
Mm-hmm.
So taking that inventory gives you a moment to like pause and reflect, and then you will start to see, yeah, you're doing great, or maybe there's an area, of opportunity there. But that's a good point to put those reminders. I definitely need to do that.
Yeah. All right. I have one more question, which is around if you could give your younger self a message around self-trust, what would you say?
Oh, for me, that's a big one. I think the the biggest aha that I've really had around this, because for me it was the fear of making the wrong decision. Like that's why I didn't really trust myself. Like someone else had the answer for me to be sure that I was going to make the right decision. And I had a coach one time say that there is no wrong decision. There's only the decision you made, and you either get what you wanted or you get the lesson that you needed.
Mm,
And so once I like thought about it that way, I'm like, oh, that's so true. And like, yes, we want to avoid the lessons, but unfortunately we can't always. We can't never make a mistake, you know? And so that's what I would tell anyone who, or my younger self, but anyone who is struggling with trusting themselves and making those decisions, and they're worried about making the wrong decision, quote unquote wrong decision, that there really is not a wrong decision. So that can relieve a lot of pressure. um, yeah, what about you?
yeah, I completely agree with that. It's like, I also always loved the expression of, like, you're not a tree. You can always,
Yes.
you can move and flow and come back and go, and, it's along with what you're saying with there is no wrong decision, you
Yeah.
know? It just go for it. So I think actually that was that was a really nice piece of advice that I heard. I think I heard that right before I left for San Diego when I
Hmm.
was making that first like really big move. It was like, okay, like what's the worst case scenario in this situation? And again, on like a micro scale, okay, I'm just gonna order the matcha because I feel like matcha, and like okay, you get the matcha and you end up not liking it. Okay, like, oh, like,
Not a big
it's
deal, right?
okay, like, so what a
You can
bummer, but move on.
change your mind. That's a good point though, is that because I moved a lot when I was first out of school, and I think I had friends who were like, "How are you just moving to the city where you don't know anyone?" And I was like, "Well, if I don't like it, I can always move back or move somewhere else." And that was the mindset I had. So that was a big decision, but that was actually an easier decision because I told myself that same thought. I can just move again,
Mhm.
right? It's not a big deal. So yes, those bigger decisions sometimes, if you have that mindset, can feel easier. But if we tell ourselves that in everything of like, we're going to learn something from this, if it ends up not what we, supposedly want, we end up getting what we actually needed. So
Yeah,
that's
every time.
what that's what happens when you trust yourself. You get what you needed.
Mhm.
Part of your path. It's part of your plan. So just like trust your path.
Yeah,
Uh,
and there are no wrong decisions.
no, there's not. So that's a good one. I love that one about the tree. So glad you
Mhm.
said. So yeah, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. Like, do you feel good with self-trust? Do you feel like you make decisions from your intuition and from your body versus your mind? How is this showing up for you? Do you notice you're good at this in some areas of your life and maybe not so great in other areas? We'd love to hear from you. Feel free to like comment, tag us, leave a review. And we'd also just want to share, we're going to go deeper into this and how you can build that self trust and strengthen your intuition. And because it's a large topic, we want to do a workshop around it. So we're going to drop the link below, and you can either join us, or if it's after that, we're going to have a replay for you. So stay tuned for that. And we hope to see you next time.